Hi, I'm Aimee, and today I am here with my friend Connie Knox from Genealogy TV. We both attended the National Genealogical Society's conference in Sacramento, California, and got to know one another better and have had a blast. And we've learned so much that she agreed to come on my channel and talk a little bit about our takeaways from conference. So welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited. We've had so much fun. It has really been a blast. And I'm so grateful that we have been able to do this in person again. Finally, some of the conferences are starting to open up to back in person. So
I'm so happy. It was so nice to hear people talk, to see their faces, to see what's going on in the industry with the guys that were there in the exhibit hall. And I just loved it. I was just thrilled. Totally agree.
Yes. They're, unfortunately, not everybody, could make it out in person, but what's nice is that they had the hybrid thing going, so people could stay at home and watch from home and or be in person. But gosh, it's so nice to see some old friends too. Yeah. It's been a couple years since the last conference really was in person, so yeah. I'm excited. And I think going forward, a lot of the conferences are starting to come back in person. We're hearing lots of rumors.
Yes, we're hoping. Fingers crossed. So tell me your big takeaway from conference. Tell me like some of the biggest things that you really
We've had some really good speakers this week, and a lot of certified speakers, a lot of AG speakers. And I think for me, one of the takeaways was a reminder of the Board for Certification of Genealogists, the Genealogical Proof Standards, and I think they had their own take on it. It wasn't like they were going, here's the Genealogical Proof Standards, the reasonably exhaustive research and source citations, and going through all of those things that we do. But there was a lot of sessions on correlation of evidence. There was stuff about, just how to do that reasonably exhaustive research, keeping good notes, keeping organized. There was some DNA stuff where they were correlating evidence across multiple DNA test takers. So, that's kind of was my overall sense of, yes, the standards are alive and well and working, because they were doing a lot of case studies that were really proving that the standards work. So if you're not familiar with the standards, get to know them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is always NGS. The NGS conferences to me always hit this topic really well. And whenever I go, I'm reminded that there's more research that you can do to do reasonably exhaustive research. I think sometimes we think, oh, grab that, I'm good to go. But maybe you needed, more information. And I love the fact that a lot of times I am tuned into record groups that I didn't know before in order to do that reasonably exhaustive research. I just absolutely love Judy Russell's class on the DNA, and and the thing that I loved about her class was she pulled it in and took us through the standards, and how from start to finish, by using the standards, she was able, and through DNA, she was able to solve this huge family mystery of the mother of one of her ancestors. Loved it.
What's fun about Judy Russell is the way she tells a story.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because she takes you through the process of her problem, right? We always start with the problem and identifying the problem per the standards anyway, right? And then, but she starts going, okay, so here's my problem, and wait a minute. And then she's got this big question mark, this can't be right. Wait a minute, what's with that? And she starts walking you through the process that she went through.
Yeah.
when she went, and so, in the end, it's like a good murder mystery. She always comes up with the answer in the end, but she's always a good one to listen to. She's fun.
She is. If you have a chance to listen to any of her presentations, don't miss it. They're great.
Yeah.
So, okay, what were some of your others?
FamilySearch. I have to hand it to FamilySearch. Oh my gosh. I went to their luncheon, and I watched this gentleman, David Wabet, who talked about going all around the world. And he said he cut out 20 countries out of his speech because it was too long. But in 2 slides, he would share, each country. So he was like India and Taiwan and all of these different places around the world where he has been going, and FamilySearch has been going to preserve these records that I had no idea they were doing. I did not know. I knew they were going out there and preserving, but when I watched that speech, I was blown away. And I had the good fortune to sit next to him at lunch today and tell him how blown away I was, because that was incredible. They're going and talking to tribal leaders in little tiny villages in Africa, and they're getting agreements with them to preserve even oral histories, things that aren't written. So people then, the next wave of FamilySearch people would come in with their laptops and would sit down with people in the villages and get the oral histories, because in some of these villages, the kids memorize 12 generations of their family history.
That's a lot.
And so they're sitting there on their computer trying to, the FamilySearch folks are taking in some of these oral histories, so it's not always written history. And some of the technology I found out about today, they are using the handwriting recognition software for Spanish language records now. They're starting to bring that online.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, and it was fascinating to listen to him talk about the first wave, I guess, just the first pass, they said, when the software works, the first pass just identifies the lines. The second pass starts to identify all the characters in the words. And the third line starts to identify the fields.
Oh, wow.
And so, they're in various stages of this technology to start bringing some more online. But if they can do it with Spanish language records, they're going to be able to start doing it with, more and more and more. So, I mean, it's just, it's just amazing what they're doing. And kudos to Ancestry for their handwritten, recognition with the 1950 census.
Oh, yeah.
And more to come. Stay tuned.
Yeah. And I just think now, if you look at where we were 5 or 10 years ago, and how with technology and just more interest in genealogy and where we've come, especially like when I started like about 40 years ago, it was a totally different world. Now it's so amazing, but things are happening so quickly. And when they start to really get this handwriting translation stuff done or transcription stuff done, it's just going to blow the doors on everything.
I don't think that the computer software is ever going to be perfect.
No.
But oh my gosh,
Yeah.
if it's anything like what we've seen with Ancestry and FamilySearch are working together on this, but the Ancestry's software and Nora did it too with handwriting recognition. It's like, okay, so that if for this era, right, whatever that era is, they have been able to identify handwritten characters, then they can start going back in time, and because the handwriting changes over the years, right? But still, I'm just blown away at some of the stuff that's coming out, and it's just so cool, so cool.
Yeah.
What were any other takeaways from you?
I think I spent a lot of time, they had a lot of Chinese classes and African American classes here, and I spent a lot of time in some of those. And stay tuned, I'm going to do some later videos about some things regarding those two topics if those are of interest to you. But I agree with you about the standards was something, just the importance of being thorough in our research and thinking outside of the box, making sure that we're dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's. And
I think one of the things too that is so fun about doing these is you're reminded of things that you forgot about.
oh yeah,
There's that record set. Oh yeah, there's railroad records. Oh yeah, there's, whatever it is,
yeah.
There's all kinds of refreshing the memory because, we can't remember it all.
Yeah. I think one of my other favorites, and I always see a lot of those classes here at NGS, are map classes. I think a lot of times genealogists miss the map opportunities that they have, that they can learn more about where their family lived by looking at maps, who was living near whom, and how close they were to other things. And also they can solve genealogy mysteries when you maybe have an address and it can help you rule out other people. It can help you with your timelines. And I went to a number of map classes, and they were fantastic.
I don't know if you saw Rick Sayers' last class that he just did. Like a couple hours ago.
I didn't go to that.
It was on
That was
mapping the GIS stuff. So that's the global information system stuff that is going on. It's like Google Earth, where they're laying over old maps on top of. But there's so many websites now that are coming out. David Rumsey's website, for example, some of that stuff is coming out with geographical information system stuff overlaid, so you can overlay old maps on new maps, and I mean, there's just all kinds of cool technology stuff coming out.
Cool.
And it always helps. And one of the things he demonstrated was just using a modern day map and physically pushing and stretching a map to fit on top of another map, so that you could see, because he was using Sanborn maps. If you're not familiar with Sanborn maps, those are the insurance maps. Those old Sanborn maps on top of a modern day map, because the buildings are no longer there.
Right.
And so
or they're a gas station now or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And some of those Sanborn maps have people's names on them,
Yeah.
Our ancestors,
Well, and they're color coded. So like if it's red, it's a brick building. So you could learn a lot about where your ancestor lived by just looking at the Sanborn map. If you can find their address, their Sanborn maps are great. The other thing that I've done too with maps is I've gone back and visited a particular place that my family lived in, and by the ability to overlay those maps, and then I can better identify exactly where my family lived, because things have changed, but you can use railroad tracks and other different points in order to overlay those maps. Anyway, a whole huge video could come out of that one, and that's a great topic. So
yeah, Sherry Hudson Passy was talking about maps with regard to migrations and railroad maps and stuff. Like if your ancestors moved from point A to point B, figure out the migration. How did they get there? Go look at maps for the era that they were going from point A to point B. If there's a 10-year span, you can probably find a map in that area and go, okay, they go by river, did they go by railroad, did they go by car, how did they go, And, lots of good stuff at NGS.
Yeah, and you know what, I got to say about any genealogy conference that I've ever been to is worth it. NGS made the announcement they're going to be in Virginia next year. It'll be in May in Virginia. So if that's something that you want to do, check it out. It would be a great opportunity. But if you can't do that, conferences are becoming more common, and you may have one near you. Highly recommend it. You're going to learn something, promise, and it's just really exciting to be around other genealogists, people that know and understand your craziness and your passion. So find a conference near you.
Kind of fun to hang out with your peeps.
Yeah, it is. And we've gotten to hang out together and get to know one another better, and love this woman. So excited to have done that. So thank you for coming on and doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll do more.
All right. Take care.